You must sing as though no one is listening. You must love as though you've never been hurt. You must dance as though no one is watching, and you live as though it's heaven on earth.
On this week's episode of I-45 Confidential,
I don't have time for self-loneliness. To be able to figure out what's going on in my head, I don't have time. I gotta be there for other people.
I have a hard time forgiving people, but I hold a grudge because I'm always good to people. I'm a very genuine person.
But you do not give them any advice. You listen to them. You listen to them, to their problems.
The thing I love about my relationship is the companionship. The rest of it seems like a bonus to me.
It's like a ghost in the room, like, oh, you see remnants of them, and
yes,
but you're not seeing them, and they're not seeing you.
You are about to witness a conversation, a confidential conversation between lifelong friends. For more than 3 decades, they've laughed, cried, yelled, danced, traveled, and learned together. They are experts in nothing, but experienced in life. Welcome to the conversation, and welcome to I-45 Confidential.
Today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about being alone and loneliness, which are 2 separate things. And everybody has a different idea of what that means. So we're going to discuss it. In the house today, we have a special guest, but we're going to leave the best for last, okay? We want to welcome my friend Elise to the show, our confidant.
Hey, it's Authentically Elise here. I'm rock steady and I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, and we got Mo in the house. Go ahead, girl.
Hey, y'all. Hey, this is Mo. I am a unicorn. I had a baby at 40.
Okay, we got Kim, our social butterfly, looking beautiful in pink today.
Hey, y'all, it's me, Kim, the social butterfly. Every friend group should have one of me.
Our special guest today is Auntie Glenn. Auntie Glenn is Elise's beautiful Caribbean auntie, and she has graced us with her presence and her loveliness today. And we really appreciate you being here today.
Good. Thank you all for having me today. I really feel accepted. I feel happy. And Auntie Glenn is always looking for all the other nieces. So today I have 4 nieces.
Oh,
thank you. And Auntie Glenn is 84 years young.
Yes.
And we want to thank you. She's going to bring a little bit of wisdom.
Amazing.
Yes, she does.
Amazing.
Look at how she's smiling. Look at how she's smiling.
But she does look good. She does look good.
And sassy.
Exactly.
Little shoulder action. She looks doing that like you did yesterday.
What?
Elise was doing that too. Little shoulder action.
Shoulder action. So it runs in the fam.
She must have seen me.
Okay. We had this discussion before about the difference between loneliness and being alone. And I explained to everyone here that I love my solitude. There's nothing I love more than being alone with myself. I can be alone and not be lonely. Mm-hmm. I've never in my life has I ever felt lonely in that way. I've traveled. I've been in many places where I was completely a fish out of water, and I've never felt that. I think it's something that I was born with, because it's not something because I've never had it.
And you're the first person I've ever heard say that. And I know that there are other people. No one's ever said that. So when you said that day, I was like, what do you mean you don't know what loneliness is? Because you can't relate to it. Yeah.
At all. You know, and you made me reflect on that when we had that discussion the other day, because I have to look at people and acknowledge them, because I realize that some people do feel alone.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you feel alone, but you don't feel loneliness. And then there are others who are alone and feel loneliness. When I was 24, after school, I felt alone and I was lonely. So because I was lonely, I met this man and I married him at 24, 25. And it was the worst decision, one of the worst decisions of my life, because I was lonely. So, yeah. Have you ever been lonely, Auntie Glenn? Or are you lonely now? Because you were saying that you've lived alone for 36 years.
I've lived alone, but you know what? I love it. I love living alone.
How did you come to live alone?
Okay, after my divorce, after 21 years of marriage, I decided, after the marriage and my divorce, I started living alone. And I never felt in the 38 years that I wanted someone to live with me. I enjoyed living alone, doing what I have to do. And I got into music. I started taking piano lessons I joined the choir. I did the bells at church. And I am now in a steel band school. And my music...
Steel band.
Steel band, the steel band.
Ping, 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 ping.
I am in a steel band.
Wow.
Okay, now,
That's awesome.
Yes.
really? When did you start that?
I started that last year. And I called them and told them I'll be off for this period. I played the tenor pan.
Okay.
And I have what I did, I bought a small tenor pan, which I practice at home. But I have to get a real big tenor pan.
Can you explain what a tenor pan is? For those of our listening audience who don't know, the steel drums were actually started in Tobago from the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes. It is the first instrument that was developed in the 20th century.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
And they have a steel pan in the museum in Sweden.
Oh, wow. Really?
Sweden, yes.
So you're very active.
I am
Very active. So does that keep the loneliness away?
Probably.
You never, well, you said you like being alone, but you never long for anyone to just be around.
Because of my music, I don't think anyone would want to hear a piano for 3-4 hours. As they would be looking at television, or they might be doing something else, and I'm playing the piano, or I'm playing the pan, or I'm listening to music.
What about your neighbors?
Yes.
What about your neighbors? They have to listen to it.
My neighbor, she said to me the other day, we were having a concert at church, and I was practicing for the concert. I was singing, and she said to me, "Do you know I can join your choir next week and sing in your concert?" Because she was hearing me all the time. You know, she says, "No, I can come and join the choir." Because I was singing. Yeah.
She knew all the words.
When you became single, did you still keep the friends that you had when you were married?
Yes and no.
Well, I
Yes,
have a question
did.
first. When you moved by yourself, you were living in a different country. You were living in Trinidad at the time, correct? So when you moved to the U.S. for the first time as a
Single.
citizen, I guess you applied for your green card at that time, right? So you came to a different country
Yes.
and you had to start over.
All over again.
Okay, I just want to give some
I
context.
did everything. I cleaned houses. I cleaned yards. I babysat. I took care of a man in a home who was very ill, and I didn't have the experience of being a home health aide. I was taking care of him, and the doctor came in and asked me, "Is he incontinent?" I did not know what he meant. Incontinent. I got so scared. I said, no. I am just here, just his friend, and I'm just staying with him. I didn't want to tell him that I was being paid. I didn't know anything of if he's incontinent.
But a lot of home health aides they don't have any experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
It's a
didn't
lot.
have any experience
They
of
don't.
it, but I did everything to survive. And I got a job with the state of Florida. I became a caseworker, a case manager. I'm now retired. Beautiful pension from the state. We didn't have to contribute. And I am really happy. I live alone, but I'm not lonely.
And a wonderful condo in Florida.
That overlooks the lake.
The canal.
It's not a canal. It's a
It
canal.
overlooks the pool.
And
And she tried to tell my friends earlier that her condo overlooks the water.
and it's gated.
And
I
it's
remember that from the last conversation.
Yeah.
First of all, it does overlook the water. It overlooks the pool
it does.
and the lake.
But that gives an indication looks over a
Ocean.
real lake or an ocean.
It's okay.
Especially if you live in Florida.
It's okay.
That's what
Technically,
it
it is over the water.
Yeah,
It
a
overlooks
canal.
the water.
It's a canal.
Technically, it's a body
It's a
of
nice
water.
canal.
It's a body of
Auntie
water.
Glenn, question for you. When you came from Trinidad, you went to Canada first?
No.
And then Florida. Or Florida first?
When I came, I left Trinidad and I came to Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, you went to New York first?
I went to New York first because my then fiance was in college.
Your fiance. Oh, you're talking about this is before you got married. Okay.
When she came.
Okay.
Then I got married in Brooklyn, and he was a student. I came on a vacation visa, and we could not stay. We had to go back.
Right.
And then a friend of ours who lived in Montreal, Canada, crossed us over the border. So we were in the country illegally. We were in Canada illegal. We had no intentions of staying. We were going to get our papers in Canada because we heard they were looking for young, educated people. So my then husband, we walked into the immigration and we told them we were illegal. And the man said, "What's your background?" And we told him, and he says, "Wow, we are looking for young, educated people." They gave us our temporary status. And we were waiting to get our permanent status to fly back to Union Street in Brooklyn. They took 4 years. By that time, we had good jobs, we had a home, so we never moved. And my son was born in Canada, and he is still in Canada, married with my 2 grandchildren.
Wow.
And I left Canada. My then husband, he's a lab technologist. He went home to open a laboratory
in Trinidad,
for the doctors.
home.
And I got divorced there. I came to Florida, and I love it. I wouldn't leave Florida for nothing. Nobody
What made
can
you
get
choose Florida, though?
That's where all the old people go.
No, what happened?
That's where they used to go. Look, that's where they used to go.
No, they still
I
go
went
there.
to New York. I went back to Union Street to my family home. And I got in the phone, and this friend called me, and I told her, I moved back to Brooklyn. Why are you moving to Brooklyn? I said, well, she said, why don't you come to Florida? I said, I don't know anybody there. She said, you remember Judy? Yes. She said, well, I am going to ask Judy if you can come and stay with her. And she asked Judy. Judy said, yes. I came to Florida, stayed with Judy, and the rest is history. I got a job.
There's a huge West Indian population that are retiring also
In
in
have
Florida.
families in
Yeah,
Florida.
I could see that though.
Specifically Southern Florida, Fort Lauderdale.
Because Elisa's family on her father's side,
I have a lot of family there.
there are a lot of them
A lot of us.
are within proximity to me.
So again, I guess your community, even though you were there, you went to Florida knowing maybe 2 people?
She knew,
But
she
you-
knows. She
you-
knew my family as well.
No, but
Now,
at that time I
but
didn't.
at that time,
We didn't
so
know that they were there.
Oh, you didn't.
so
No, I didn't know that they were there.
yeah, so community plays a large part as well as you not
Yes.
in you not being lonely.
Oh, I'm not lonely.
Yeah.
And my church, I'm very, very. I volunteer the office. I'm a Stephen minister.
What is that?
A Stephen minister, you have to be trained, okay? As I tell somebody said to me, what qualifies you to be a Stephen minister? I said, it's not the qualified. It's who God's called.
Exactly.
If God called you, you don't have to be qualified. God calls you and he qualifies you. Now, a Stephen minister does not preach. You're assigned to a person and you walk that person through their problems, through the grievances, if they're going through a divorce, if they're going through a loss of a job, the children.
It's a one-on-one.
It's a one-on-one. And no one knows who your person that you're
Confidential.
It's very confidential. I have friends who are Stephen ministers in the same congregation with me, and I do not know who their care receiver is.
What denomination is that?
It is the United Methodist Church.
Okay.
And my church is called the Plantation United Methodist.
Shout out. You giving a shout
I'm
out to your
also
church?
in the congregational care. This is like older people who cannot come to church. I am assigned to my lady for the last 10 years. I went to a 100 birthday party.
Oh wow.
And we are looking forward to the 101. Nellie Lawrence. I'm assigned to Nellie. Now, I go
Wait, are you
pray
supposed to
with
say
her.
that?
No,
We sing.
as an older.
Oh, this is a different
It's
ministry.
a different ministry.
Yeah,
two
I got you.
ministries,
Yep.
Stephen
I got
Ministry
it.
and the Congregational Care Ministry.
I got it.
And that's different.
Yep.
That is not confidential.
Right,
You know
right,
who the
right.
person is, right? I would go there and we would sing, we would pray. I just be with her, whatever she wants to do. She wants to look at TV. I sit and look at TV with her. I spend.
You're her companion, like a companion.
It's a companion, and I have been with Nellie since 2014.
How often do you see her?
Oh.
And now,
How often do you see her?
I try to do once a week, but once in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I'm definitely once in 2 weeks. Sometimes I do once a week, but it's not a confidential as the Stephen ministry. Nobody knows who you're Stephen. It's a very confidential ministry.
It's interesting because community seems like your community and your church has taken on the whole thing of loneliness.
It does.
To combat it. And I don't know if we're still with our generation. I've never even heard of anything like that.
I've never heard of that. But I also grew up
and
Catholic.
it could be, I was about to say Catholic, Baptist.
I never heard of Stephen Minister.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
It's an interesting concept that I think a lot of churches might
really
need to
should.
review.
And
They really should.
it's more.
It's kind of like
listening.
AA.
You don't put your views on the person. We listen to you.
Oh, it's like free therapy.
Like therapy.
Yeah.
We listen to you. And if we feel that we have to get you a psychiatrist or we got to get you,
You do the research to help them get the information.
I will report and give it to the senior person and they would take it from there. But you do not give them any advice. You listen to them. You listen to them, to their problems. And even their children or their sister or husband
You don't tell them
do not
nothing.
know that I am assigned. We meet at Starbucks, we meet in the park, we meet, okay? If you live at home, we will meet you at home. But if you have family at home, we meet you in a restaurant, Starbucks, the park, whatever. Yes.
And is that only as needed? Or do you have to be with that? Like, for example, Auntie Glenn, if you're my person, is it that you only help me when I call you? Or do you have to have like a certain amount of sessions?
Are you reaching out consistently?
Okay, you can set up. We'll meet once a week or we'll meet every other week. But you set the time. The person sets a time. And if it's convenient to you, but you come together and you set a time. Okay? And you do not give advice. You listen to all their problems and you bring it back to the committee. And if the committee feels that they need to send them to an employment agency, they would send them to employment agency. Or if they need a psychologist, they would. But I bring back my report and the committee would decide. The person, they would decide what to do. But you don't give any advice. You don't do that, no.
That's a really good ministry right there.
Very good.
It's not just a ministry; it's a culture of ministry.
Right.
A man is assigned a man. A woman is assigned a woman. We don't.
So you'd never be assigned
to be comfortable too.
Like a child or a teenager. Who's assigned to those people?
Okay, we have another. What we have, it's called the Children's Ministry. We have counselors. We have professionals for the children. These are just adults. We just deal with the adults that are going through.
Well, given the fact that you have a full life, you don't have any room for a man at this point. Yeah. That's probably why all this time, because a man feels a certain. The thing I love about my relationship is the companionship. The rest of it seems like a bonus to me. You know what I mean? To somebody who just sits in the room with you, even if we don't talk, and the companionship of that.
To be honest with you, I am talking to someone.
Come on now.
Okay, you heard it here first.
Do tell.
I don't know why you're talking to me because I don't know.
I'm talking to someone.
You're talking to someone? That's a really
lunchtime in the night. We talk at least.
That's not old people speak.
Times.
At least 3 times a day?
Yes.
And Auntie Glenn, I can't even get a call back half the time.
Let me tell you.
That's a relationship.
I'm going to say, Auntie, I'm very happy that you met somebody.
We're very happy that you met somebody.
Yes, definitely. I think
talks to me 3 times a day.
I think that your community is great.
Well, but you're just saying some of us don't get calls 3 times a day.
Right.
Or at all.
I mean, right.
I can't even get a text back.
Okay. Yeah. These men out here are boo-boo. Okay.
Is he an older man or a younger man?
7 months older than I am.
7 months?
Okay.
7 months older than I am.
Okay.
He's the same age.
Well, basically, but she's being thorough.
Okay.
So my question to you guys, I already know, Rochelle, how you feel about it. But Mo and Elise, do y'all ever feel lonely? Not alone, but do you get lonely? Because I know how I feel.
I told y'all about my loneliest time in my life, or what I perceived to be my loneliest time in my life, was when my mother passed. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast, but that was the time when I felt alone, and lonely in this world because I knew there would never be, not my children, not my husband, not my aunts. Nobody will love me like my mother. Nobody will ever have that level of love for me in my life ever again. So I felt very lonely. I was very depressed for a very long time.
And self-medicating.
A decade.
Yeah,
and self-medicating. Yeah, I did. But that's a different type of loneliness. So outside of that, there's been times that I've been alone. Do I feel lonely now? No. Do I want some companionship every now and then? Absolutely. But I'm not going to settle. Like, I'm not going to have you in my presence just because to have somebody in my presence. So anybody I spend time with, and that goes friends and everything, it's got to be because I want you there. I want you in my life. Because outside of that, what's the point? I have other things to do.
Right. And Mo, you? I know you have your mom, your brother, you have your community, you have Brooklyn, but do you ever feel lonely?
I don't have time.
You don't have time for loneliness? What do you mean?
So then why are you?
You don't contemplate it.
I can't.
So you're in denial.
Could be.
You know,
But I don't have time
Yes.
for self loneliness. To be able to figure out what's going on in my head, I don't have time. I got to be there for other people.
Yeah, but you have to put your mask on first.
But I can't.
I'm telling you, if you pass out, nobody else gets a mask.
I can cry to y'all right now, but after I leave here, I still can't be lonely.
And I
And
feel
I
that.
don't have any room to be alone.
I feel that. But I'll say I'm lonely. I'm not lonely now, but I have felt loneliness briefly because I'm never lonely, but I have felt it. And you and I are kind of in a similar situation. So yeah, I don't have a lot of time to be lonely.
You could be in a house full of people.
Right. And
And you cannot, sometimes
Right.
I can be around a whole lot of people. And it sounds selfish, but that's when I really want to be alone and feel I want to be oblivious. And I cannot be oblivious at my own choice. I have to
What brings you pleasure?
cooking.
Cooking. Put you in the zone?
But does that bring you pleasure?
Or does it fill the void of the loneliness?
Yes, right.
Both. It's like y'all know my favorite. Yeah, my favorite term. It's like a double dutch. It's both. You know what I'm saying? Cooking gives me pleasure, but it gives me a zone out. My creative juices flow that way because I'm not doing my other creative juices to the proportion that I used to. Doing hair and makeup 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 to 7 days a week. I don't have that outlet anymore. So cooking is my outlet. So then I guess I need to rewind and say that is my alone time because I zone out. That's the only time I'm allowed to. But then I'm still doing it for others, not just for myself. It's a necessity that it has to be done. But
I had this therapist, a really good therapist, best therapist I ever had, older Jewish man. He was good. And I remember coming into him and I just this and this and then the work and this and then my daughter and this and my ex-husband and this and then my new husband and this and blah, blah, my aunt and this. And he just listened. He listened. And when I finished, he said, "You finished?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "It's none of that." He said, "Your cup is empty. Your emotional cup is empty. What have you done to fill your emotional cup?" Because
That's
because
good.
you wouldn't, none of that, you just don't have any, there's no room. Your emotional tank is empty.
is this the same therapist that said holding the grudge was like holding a hot rock?
Yep, that's the same one.
He's a
good.
quack.
Yeah.
He's a quack. Hold that grudge. Hold that grudge to the day I die.
Drop the rock. Drop the rock, Kim. Drop it.
What I'd like to say is that I was talking to my pastor and I said, you know, with my ex-husband, why can't I forget it? Why can't I forget it? And what she said to me, it's forgiveness is when you haven't forgotten it, but the pain is not attached to it. That is when you forgive. I said to her with my ex-husband, she said, you have forgiven him because the pain, you haven't forgotten what he did you, but the pain is not attached to it. And the pain is not attached to it. So I have forgiven him. That is forgiveness. When the pain is not attached to it. You don't forget it. You remember it.
Well, I'm holding
But
a
the pain
grudge
is
to the
not
day I
attached
die.
to it.
But you know what, Auntie Glenn, you're absolutely right because when people say all the time, I never really understood it. when people would say forgiveness is for yourself, because people are not worried about if you forgive them or not. You have to forgive somebody for your own self so that you can move on, because you're holding it on, just like Kim. She likes to hold it on, but that's on her. That's her.
You know,
But if you don't forgive somebody because of yourself,
the first person I heard said that is my son. He said to me he had to forgive his father, not for
himself. Exactly.
That's what the first person I heard say that.
Okay, let me say this, and I agree with that to an extent. Let me say why I hold grudges. I hold a grudge now, and won't say I have a hard time forgiving people, but I hold a grudge because I'm always good to people. I'm a very genuine person. So if I'm good to you and I've been good to you and I've never wronged you, and then you turn around and you spit in my face, or you do something to me that you know is wrong, I am then turn around and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to hold this grudge because you don't care, because I was good to you in the beginning. I was very good to you. So it's not that's why I hold grudges.
So you hold a grudge against your ex?
Oh, well,
Okay. I don't hold a grudge against my ex. What I don't speak to him for is for things that are more recent, right?
Right.
We've talked about. But talking about being alone, I felt very alone in my home while I was married for a long time, because there's nothing like there's somebody there, but you're not connecting with them.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm alone in this. And he probably felt
It's almost
the
like
same
a
way,
ghost
too.
in the room.
Yeah, it's like a ghost in the room. Like, you see remnants of them, and
Yes.
but you're not seeing them, and they're not seeing you. And that's a different type of
that's a different type
alone.
of being alone.
Yeah, it's a different type of being alone.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't wish that on anybody, because that sucks.
I was about to say that's hard.
Yeah, that's hard.
You know, and the one person that I think a lot of people won't forgive themselves. That's an important lesson to learn, and because that blocks a part of your heart and your mind that won't allow you to feel the joy of certain things in life.
Nope.
Yeah.
Do you
Nope.
remember
Not in my case.
You remember I told you that I was telling Brooklyn that we were talking not about forgiveness like this in depth, but I had to tell him to not be bothered about what people say or what people think, because they're not worried about what you think or what you say. He was like, well, what do you mean? And I'm going to let him listen to this particular podcast, because just like she explained why she holds a grudge, that would be the example that I would give him of why I don't want you to do it, because those people have moved on with their life. They're not concerned.
They're not thinking about
But
you.
you're I don't want him to ever hurt himself mentally or physically. You can make yourself sick if you worry too much about things that you have no control over.
And I get what you're saying, but let me say this. I don't know how anybody else moves, but I know how I move. It doesn't hurt me. It doesn't, because I sleep at night. I move on, I eat, I do everything that I'm supposed to do. And if I'm holding a grudge, and I won't say like a grudge, if I have something against you, I don't think of you anymore, because now you're a disappointment to me. Because again, I know I was raised to treat people how I want to be treated, right? And all of us were, most of us were. But again, I'm such a good person that I do all that I can. I think about the salad dressing thing. I think about people's feelings all the time. All of the time, I consider people's feelings. And so you're not considering my feelings. Well, whatever you do to me, yes, I'm going to hold a grudge until I feel like I can let it go, until I feel like I want to let it go. I might not want to let it go.
But
I don't.
Here's my thing. Maybe it's the verbiage. Maybe that's what's striking me about when you say that. Then I don't think that's a grudge, because a grudge is something that you contemplate on and you think about. That's a grudge.
No, I don't think about
think
it.
that what you're doing.
You
is
do
not a
something. Once you
grudge.
do something to me, it's no longer thought about. It's just how I handle you. I handle you differently. I may not talk to you. I may be very brief in how I deal with you. But I'm going to remember that. If I see you, I remember it. It's not something that I'm thinking about all the time. Like, oh, they did this
I
to me.
that's
agree
what I'm
that
saying.
I don't
It's
think
not
that's
that-
I
it's
don't
not a
think it's,
grudge.
I don't feel it's a grudge either, because
Oh, well.
it's like
It's just-
when
it's
people
just
do
different
you
verbiage,
wrong,
that's all.
you just know how to deal with them going forward. You're not going
Right.
to be
Correct.
You're not going to be mean or evil to them. You're just
Correct.
like, okay,
Correct.
I remember that about you, so I'm moving this way.
Correct.
Dismissive, very
Correct.
dismissive.
Correct.
Yeah, that's the only thing that was bothering me. I was like, but that's not a grudge, because a grudge is really when you keep on thinking that in your head. That's a great.
No, I don't think about
I'm
people.
get back.
Yeah, I'm gonna get.
No.
Get my lick in.
That's more of trying to get revenge on someone.
Yeah.
And I'll never get revenge on anybody, because once I pray on you, baby, you best believe the world is going to move for you. For you, the world is going to move. Because if I have to pray on you or pray about you, it's going to be real. If I got to put your name in my mouth to talk to my God and my ancestors, I promise you, your life is going to be real. It's going to get serious.
Yeah.
So, no.
I was thinking about something. I don't know if we actually said the thing about The Rock on any of our podcasts.
No, I don't think we have.
And so I wanted to go through the story, and I just thought about something when I was talking about it. So you guys, I've said it on a podcast. My first husband ended up marrying one of my closest friends, if not the closest friend. The friend who, when my father passed away, came and spent the whole day with me. Didn't leave my side during the funeral. I don't even remember where my husband was, but she never left my side during the funeral. And she ended up falling in love and marrying my ex-husband. And loneliness is about not being seen. Do you know what I mean? Like being almost invisible. People don't see you. They look at you, but they don't see you. And
No, I don't agree with
I don't
that.
agree with that at all.
See, I think my ex-husband saw her. Do you know what I mean by that? She felt like she was being seen by somebody. Like she existed by somebody. And then that, I was just, because I always think about it all the time. Like, what
was it?
What was it? Like, he feels familiar. I don't. So the story about The Rock. So when this happened, I went to my therapist and I said, I'm having these very vivid dreams about doing stuff to people, because I was it was, you can only truly hate someone you once loved. Just period.
True.
Period. People say I hate you ain't loved them enough to hate them. Mm-hmm. It's a whole different thing. And so I was having these vivid dreams about just doing things that was not okay. So when I talked to the therapist, I said, I'm having these dreams and they're really bad. He says, no, it's normal. I said, no, they really bad. Like they really vivid. And
It's homicidal.
Yeah, so he said, no, I said, he said, it's normal. I said, no, you don't get it. I mean, I'm like, they're vivid. And he says, no. And he said, have I ever told you the story about The Rock? Of course you ain't told me the story about The Rock. Right? So he said, somebody throws you a hot rock. I said, I'm just going to throw it back. He says, and they throw it back to you. And you're holding a hot rock in your hand. It's burned in your hand. You mad at them. They don't feel nothing. Because you're holding the rock in your hand. He said, drop the rock.
How about that? And it's just that
Drop
simple.
the rock. And when I say, like, for the first 3-4 weeks, I had to drop the rock 50 times. Every time that anger, rage came up, drop the rock. Drop it. Drop it.
How long did it take you?
It took me about 4 weeks to really get out of it. To not have to drop the rock during the day. But in the beginning, so funny because I was having an argument with my husband the other day, and my daughter came up to me and said, "Drop the rock, Mom. Drop the rock." So
And thank you for that story, for explaining it like that, because that would be a better analogy for me to give to him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If they can understand it like that, putting a solid object into your mind and be like, hey.
This it has turned into a conversation about forgiveness.
Yeah, it
Loneliness
really
and
has.
forgiveness. It seemed
but
like
then
they're
I was
somehow
just about
together.
to
Turn it back.
Right. I was just about to give the definition for loneliness, and then I want to give the definition for grudge. So loneliness is sadness because one has no friends or company, or it also says the quality of being remote or in isolation. So, I mean, I have felt that. Again, I've said that before when I married my first husband. He caught me because I was alone, someplace without any family, without any friends. I was by myself. And so he was able to get in and, make like he cared about me. I thought he cared about me, right? So when you're lonely, you make very, very bad decisions. You can make very bad decisions because especially when someone presents to you that this is a companion or this is someone I like.
But sis, wouldn't that be considered like your vulnerability though?
Yeah. You're vulnerable
You think he took
because you're lonely. Huh?
You think he took
Oh, he definitely took advantage of that. And he knew that because I was young.
He was older.
I was young. He was older. I was very sheltered. I was just coming out of college. Y'all were already gone. So I had no friends because y'all were my only friends. I didn't have anybody. My family was in San Antonio. Again, I'm in a little small town, so small they had no stoplight. So, he preyed upon that. And that's what happened to me. So, and it's tons of people that are in that situation because you're lonely and you not just alone, but you're lonely, you're sad, you're truly sad. And that's how I felt. So
Thank you for the definition of loneliness, though, for real.
yeah, but here's the definition of grudge: persistent feeling of ill will or resentment resulting from a past insult or injury. Or the second, to be resentfully unwilling to give, grant, or allow something. So holding a grudge, a strong feel of anger or dislike for a person you feel who has treated you badly, especially one that lasts for a long time. Now, when I say I hold a grudge, I dislike you. I do dislike you. Well, I shouldn't say I dislike you because I don't think about you.
Yeah, you don't exist.
You just don't exist to me. And if you disappoint me, you're really on that list of your disappointment, and I don't want to deal with you. So those are the definitions.
Auntie Glenn, I have a question for you.
To say it that way, I'm sitting here like, I want to find my friend a better word.
You don't need to find me a better word.
There's a word for it, though. Everything that you just said, that really is, and I don't know what it is.
I'm sure it is
familiar. Like,
Auntie Glenn,
just like I hold a grudge against Susan B. Anthony.
Have you ever felt lonely? I know you came to the country, but have you ever felt lonely in this world?
I have not.
Think about it for a second.
I felt lonely. I felt alone.
To
me, it's a difference.
There's a difference.
There's a difference, yes.
I felt alone, but not lonely.
Yeah.
No.
Because loneliness feels like a prisoner who's been put in solitude.
How do you know?
When I think about it, it feels like if someone put me in a hole, I would be fine with myself, literally, because I would be okay. It wouldn't drive me mad. It wouldn't, because I'm okay. I don't get lonely. And so that's what,
did you ever have a feeling of homesickness?
No.
Not
like, damn, I got to go back to America.
No, not in that way. Not in that way. It's interesting. This morning I did a job. I took somebody to the airport. I was telling them, I remember when I would touch down here after being gone for so long, the feeling I got.
Was it dread?
No, it wasn't dread. I could literally kiss the ground. Everything I love and know is here. Mm-hmm. When people say land where my father died, it's here. It's home.
So
that's how I was
going to say, so Auntie Glenn,
that's how I feel.
Did you ever get homesick? Were you ever homesick?
For Trinidad?
For Trinidad, for even Canada, because you left Canada.
I would, no. And probably if I'm homesick now, when I
for
say
Florida.
Florida, I truly, truly love where I live. And I wouldn't want to move from there ever. Nothing can get me to move from where I am now.
Really?
And many people can't say that at all.
Nothing can get me to move. I'm here. Everybody's, I love all my nieces and everything, but I miss home.
But you know what? You miss home. But I will say this, because we have a huge family. I have a huge family on both sides. And I think when you have that love of family that they've always shown you, I've always told my children, you will never be alone in this world. You see this family that you have? All you have to do is pick up that telephone. And whatever it is that you need, you are going to get it. So don't you ever think that you are alone in this world, because I know that. So growing up with a sense of that, even though I was lonely after my mother passed, I knew that, I knew that my family was there. And I will always have that love.
My son was in Canada and I was in Florida, and he was going through a very rough time. And you know what he said to me? I never felt depressed. He said, because I knew I can get on a bus,
go home.
I can go to 1441 Union Street
in Brooklyn.
I can ring the doorbell.
He probably had a key.
Would come out. Auntie Norma would come out, and she would not ask me, Derek, what are you doing here? She would start to slob all over me because kissing him. Yeah. She would come in, go in the kitchen. He said she start mixing she said, give me something to eat. Boy, go upstairs and lie down, yeah? She would not ask him what he is doing there. He knew he could never be homeless. Because he can just ring that doorbell in 1441 and Auntie Norma will be there.
When she said that, I literally had a flashback of the kitchen.
The first, when you went to Brooklyn.
You went to 1441?
Yes.
You went to 1441?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I've never been. No, I've never
Let
been.
me just a story.
Yeah.
This friend of mine, her daughter was going to Labor Day. And I said to her, Eastland's daughter, I said, Nicole, just go in. Well, the door is always open. She didn't Labor Day. And I said, just go and says, hi. Go to the table.
Get a plate of food.
Take a plate and start to serve yourself. Auntie Glenn, come on, that sounds crazy. I said, do it. She called me. She said, Auntie Glenn, I opened that. She said the door was unlocked. Hi, everybody, hi. She went to the table and she had a boyfriend. She said they started putting the et on everybody. Nobody asked her who she was already. 1441.
Yeah.
What a beautiful family.
It was.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, family, and a lot of people can't say that.
And when I remember sitting out on the stoop in the front, the little stair thing going up.
And you know where we all stayed? In Auntie Norma's bed. In her room.
You meet Auntie Norma?
Yeah. Did. She slept in her room with her.
Yeah.
We all slept in her
Auntie
room.
Norma, like my son said, Mom, you ever see anybody that just love everybody?
Yeah.
Just love it. You would go in, she started to sob all over. She started to hug you up. Oh, this is my friend, Auntie Norma. Auntie Norma loved everybody.
I felt
That's
like home. It
beautiful.
made me feel like home.
That sounds like home.
If you met Auntie Norma,
No, yes.
number one.
No, I talked to Auntie Norma, but I dealt with
Auntie Norma.
And she had no children.
And she had no
But
children.
we were all her children.
But we were all the children.
Elise is the reason why I have wanderlust. I grew up in Texas. I never went downtown.
Really?
No. And Elise invited me to go to New York. And it's like a Pandora's box was open. The world appeared. And then Nadine had came in from London, England.
my niece.
She was in my garage. A black girl from London was in my garage, speaking with an accent. Yeah. And I remember she had came down from New York, came here, and then she was going to go to Florida. She was probably going to visit you.
Yes.
And I was like, you got to have money to do that, don't you? Yeah. And it opened up everything for me. And it's because of Elise.
I mean, I invited her.
But she didn't know how it changed the trajectory of my life. Like none of the other stuff would have happened without the input of this.
And she ended up moving to Paris.
I worked for the state of Florida. And people at Fort Lauderdale never went to Miami.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
It's like that. Even Dallas and Fort Worth, people
I
from Fort
went
Worth
to
have never been to
Israel.
Dallas and vice versa.
I went to
It's crazy.
Israel. I went to Palestine. I went to Australia, New Zealand, Tonga Island. And these people have not. And you're from the Caribbean and you went to all these places. They have never been to Miami.
Well, Caribbeans have family in Canada, in England,
Spain.
Spain,
yeah,
yeah.
the Netherlands. I mean, every Caribbean I know has a family member in each one of those countries.
You're right. You are
aunt
very,
in
very
Israel.
correct in that.
What?
Lois Louis
Yeah.
lived in Israel.
Oh, yeah. For that. Yep.
Lived in,
Everywhere.
Can you imagine? You have a family living in Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dear listener, tell us, one, do you know the difference between being alone and loneliness? And have you ever been lonely?
And have you ever held a grudge?
I don't care. Y'all can talk about that to y'all are blue in the face.
It's gonna bother
I
me
now-
all next week. I'm gonna be like,
I
I,
don't care.
gotta find her another word. It ain't even
It's
bother
not
me.
even
It's
gonna
not even
be-
about you no more.
It's
all
not,
about
and
me
it
finding
doesn't
the
bother
word.
me. I mean, you can do what you want to do. I now, because everybody knows, I made a grudge list. So I have a grudge list, and I added Susan B. Anthony to my grudge list.
What she do?
Susan B. Anthony, she should have minded her business and asked me if I wanted to work. That's what she should have done. She should have asked me if I wanted equal
stay
rights.
home?
Yeah, I want to stay home.
Damn.
I'm tired of working. She should have minded her business.
Equal rights for less pay.
I think probably my attitude is I can't be bothered. I just nothing and believe this. Nothing bothers me. You know?
Really? Because I was just in the room with you. And
You
like,
want to talk? Why is she? No, but I just.
That's
I'm
just a
telling you
vent.
it. But
That's just a vent. She don't care.
nothing. But nothing bothers me. No, I don't
And
really
on
take
that
on any.
note,
We want to thank Auntie Glenn for gracing us
Definitely,
with
thank
her
you.
presence and her knowledge and
She's
wisdom.
so beautiful. I wish y'all could see her. She's just absolutely beautiful, and her smile is
She's
just.
just drinking it up. Look at her.
Her smile is as big and as bright as the
this
sun.
niece, she roughs me up. She tells me anything she wants.
I do.
She's so mean.
The
to you.
only one.
Y'all don't know.
Yes.
That mouth is reckless.
But at least I'm being
today.
honest.
Yeah.
exactly.
You know, one thing people, they know where they are with me.
Yeah.
as they
That's
should.
important. And they know where they stand with Kim too if they on that list.
It is so nice for you all to invite me. I feel very honored. I feel very loved. And I want to thank you all.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you very
here.
much.
My beautiful niece.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
Our beautiful friend.
Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow.
Definitely
Confidential
follow.
on all
Follow.
the streaming
Eh.
apps.
Would you like me to say the poem again?
Yes, I would like you to say the poem again.
And a little Eartha Kitt with it.
Okay. If all the seas were one sea, what a great big sea that would be. And if all the trees were one tree, what a great big tree that would be. And if all the axes were one axe, what a great big axe that would be. And if all the men were one man, what a great big man that would be. And if the great big man took the great big axe and he cut down the great big tree and it fell into the great big sea, what a splish splash that would be.
We have come to the end of our conversation. We certainly thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again. Always remember that the journey of friendship is built on the path of loyalty, acceptance, and grace.